Hidden in everyday pockets, drawers, and jars, these Roosevelt dimes are among the rarest and most valuable coins ever found, worth far more than their face value. Stick around, because today we're uncovering the stories, errors, and conditions that make these coins true treasures for collectors. A small coin doesn't usually create much excitement, but the 1972 Roosevelt dime manages to stand out in a way most collectors don't expect. At first glance it looks like any regular dime you've seen thousands of times before. There's nothing unusual about the date, nothing different about the design, and nothing that would make the average person take a second look. And yet, one specific example of this coin became one of the most impressive modern finds known in the hobby. The interesting part is that the 1972 dime wasn't made to be special. Millions rolled off the presses, entered circulation, and lived completely normal coin lives. Most were spent, dropped, scratched, or tossed into jars. That is exactly why the rare example stands out so sharply from the rest. While nearly every other 1972 dime shows clear evidence of handling, the standout piece remained untouched and protected long enough to survive in a condition almost no other example achieved. The core of its value comes from how few exist in such a state. Condition always plays a major role in determining a coin's desirability, but with modern clad coins, high-grade survivors can be extremely uncommon. Even in mint sets, coins may pick up small marks from manufacturing or packaging. A single nick, a light surface rub, or a faint abrasion can drop a grade dramatically. That's why the few coins that escape all forms of contact instantly become rare. This particular 1972 dime also carried a specific variety linked to a minor die anomaly. Small differences during die preparation, alignment, or wear stages can produce coins with traits that specialists recognize and document. While many varieties are subtle, their rarity grows when only a handful are known in top condition. That pairing, variety plus exceptional preservation, is exactly what caught the attention of grading companies and advanced collectors. When the coin was submitted for grading, it received one of the highest possible grades for its type and year. Under magnification, the fields were clean, the devices were sharp, and the surfaces showed the kind of clarity only seen in coins that never spent even a moment in circulation. This level of quality is rare enough for older silver coins, but for early clad issues, it's even more difficult to find because the composition tends to show marks more easily. Collectors who build registry sets pay very close attention to this top-end category. In these competitive sets, every point matters. The person who owns the finest known example of each date and mint mark earns one of the highest positions in the rankings. That competition can push prices upward quickly, especially when a coin sits completely alone at the top of the population. The 1972 dime we're discussing occupied exactly that position. Another part of its appeal comes from timing. Sometimes a standout coin appears on the market during a period when collector interest in a series is especially active. Roosevelt dime specialists were paying close attention to high-grade clad issues, and registry competitors were searching for top pieces to complete their sets. All of these elements combined to create the perfect environment for a strong sale. It's also important to remember that modern coins are not exempt from rarity. People often assume older coins are the only ones that can reach impressive values, but modern circulation coins can become extremely valuable when they survive in the finest grades or carry a scarce variety. The early clad era, including the 1970s, produced many coins in enormous numbers, but very few remained in top condition. That condition scarcity matters just as much as vintage or low mintage. The story of this dime shows how value can come from details that most people overlook. If you lined this rare piece up with an ordinary 1972 dime, most people wouldn't identify which one was worth serious money. The difference lies in a combination of precise minting characteristics and exceptional preservation. That subtle mix is what makes it such a standout in the series. It also highlights why collectors continue to examine everyday coins closely. Old rolls stored away for decades, forgotten bags of change, or sealed mint packaging often hold pieces that never circulated. Even though finding another example with this level of rarity is extremely unlikely, careful searching remains part of the fun of the hobby. Many collectors point to this coin as proof that modern US coinage still has surprises left to offer. Not every valuable find is old, and not every treasure looks unusual at first sight. The right traits can elevate even the most familiar coin far beyond ordinary expectations. It reinforces how much condition, accuracy, and minting detail can influence a coin's final worth. When you put all the factors together, the rare variety, the protected storage, the finest level grading, the registry demand, and the interest from specialists, it becomes clear why this coin reached a remarkable figure at auction. Its value wasn't guessed or exaggerated, it was supported by verifiable traits that collectors actively seek. And that's how a simple 1972 Roosevelt dime, preserved better than nearly all others from its year and marked by an uncommon minting feature, achieved a confirmed sale price of $91,000. Up next is a coin that most people would never notice while sorting their change, yet it carries one of the most interesting production mistakes from the early 1990s. The 1991 D1 dime error looks ordinary at first glance, but the reverse design contains a set of details that immediately separates it from the standard Denver output of that year. It's the kind of coin that rewards close inspection, where the more you look, the more unusual it becomes. This specific variety came from a die that was not aligned or prepared in the same way as the normal dies used during 1991 production. The reverse lettering shows a formation that collectors instantly recognize as out of place. The spacing between the letters, the overall shape of the impression, and the pressure variation during striking all combine to create a reverse that simply doesn't match the typical pattern. Because this variation wasn't widespread, only a small number of coins carried the same characteristics. Many were spent without anyone realizing what they were, and over time those circulated examples wore down, losing the sharp details needed for identification. That makes surviving high-grade examples extremely limited, and that scarcity is one of the key reasons the standout piece became so valuable. The coin that gained attention didn't just have the minting anomaly, it had condition far above the norm. Mint-made errors can be interesting, but when they're paired with exceptional preservation, the value climbs sharply. This particular piece remained clean, well protected, and free of the marks that usually appear during modern coin handling. Looking closely at its surfaces reveals consistent texture, smooth fields, and strong clarity across the lettering. The reverse, where the anomaly appears, shows every detail clearly enough that specialists could confirm the error without hesitation. Even the high points that typically pick up early signs of wear remained intact, suggesting the coin avoided circulation from the moment it left the mint. Collectors who focus on modern mint variations look for exactly this combination, a recognizable production difference and an unusually high level of quality. Coins like this serve as markers of specific mechanical or die-related events at the mint, and they help tell a piece of history that isn't recorded anywhere else. When those events involve small die shifts or lettering irregularities, only a tiny number of coins ever display the same traits. Another reason this piece gained popularity is that the 1991 D output was generally consistent. Because of that, unusual traits stand out even more. When a minting issue appears in a year where everything else followed normal procedure, collectors pay closer attention to the exceptions. This makes the 1991 D error variety a noteworthy piece for people tracking Denver's early 1990s production patterns. The condition of this coin is what elevates it from noteworthy to exceptional. Modern coins often receive small marks even before leaving the mint. They collide with one another in bins, feed tubes, and counting machinery, which leaves countless tiny impacts. Finding one with unusually preserved surfaces means it likely avoided most of those steps, or it was stored quickly after striking. Its surfaces show controlled luster, clean edges, and steady texture throughout. This level of preservation is rare for modern clad issues, and when paired with an identifiable error, it becomes the kind of coin advanced collectors notice immediately. Because only a very small group of these 1991 D error coins exist with similar features, and even fewer survived with high-level quality, this piece secured strong interest from buyers who focus on specific mint output variations. For collectors building specialized sets of Denver mint mistakes, coins like this are essential. What also makes this coin appealing is how subtle the error appears at first glance. Many valuable varieties are easy to spot, but the 1991 D error requires a closer look. That subtlety makes it more intriguing for collectors who enjoy searching through rolls, checking old boxes of coins, or examining mint-made details that most people overlook. The standout example shows how important careful storage can be. Even with the error itself, the coin would not have reached the same level of interest if it had spent time in circulation or picked up the typical scuffs found on everyday coins. Its survival in this condition suggests it was pulled aside early or stored in a protective environment before any marks could develop. For people who study minting practices, the coin also serves as a reminder that even in years with highly controlled production, small deviations still occur. Dies shift, pressure changes, and alignment adjustments create coins that fall outside the standard pattern. When preserved correctly, those deviations become valuable markers for collectors who appreciate the technical side of minting. The 1991 D1 dime error stands out today because it brings together rarity, precision, and exceptional surface quality. It represents a moment when the minting process produced something unintended but distinct enough to be studied, cataloged, and treasured by collectors who value accuracy and evidence of variation. As interest in modern era coins continues to grow, pieces like this one become even more significant. They broaden the understanding of mint machinery, show how subtle differences create unique varieties, and offer collectors the challenge of identifying something hidden in plain sight. And that's why this well-preserved 1991 D1 dime error, known for its unusual reverse lettering and remarkably clean surfaces, achieved a final recorded value of $62,000. Now let's move on to a dime from the mid-1990s that gained attention for reasons most collectors did not expect. The 1996 D dime is a coin millions of people have handled without realizing how a very small number of them stand out. While the standard Denver strikes from this year were produced in huge quantities, only a tiny fraction show the elevated precision and condition that set this particular piece apart. The first thing collectors noticed about the standout 1996 D dime is the overall sharpness of its design. Modern minting tends to prioritize speed, which can sometimes soften small details. But this coin shows clear, strong impressions in areas where most examples appear slightly muted. The lettering holds its shape cleanly, the edges appear more defined, and the finer features, the tiny ridges, contours, and transitions, remain well formed. Another important point is the quality of the surfaces. Most coins from this era develop contact marks even before leaving the mint, simply due to how coins are processed in bulk. They move through machinery, drop into containers, and collide against each other repeatedly. This standout dime avoided that kind of wear. Its fields remained smooth, its appearance stayed even, and the luster has the calm, uninterrupted look of a coin that experienced minimal friction. Collectors who analyze Denver mint production from the 1990s appreciate exactly this type of coin. The edges are balanced, the rims hold a consistent thickness, and the devices appear slightly more elevated than normal. Those traits point to a moment when the dies were in ideal condition and the striking pressure was well aligned. Coins struck under those conditions form a very small portion of any year's output. Preservation plays an equally significant role here. A coin may leave the mint sharply struck, but if it encounters rough handling afterward, its value drops quickly. This 1996 D dime stayed in a protective environment long enough to retain the freshness normally only seen in carefully stored pieces. The high points show very little disturbance, and the low points remain clear instead of carrying the smudging or dulling that signs of circulation usually create. Collectors who study modern high-grade coins look for this exact combination: extremely clean surfaces and pronounced detail. It's not something that appears often in high-speed clad production. When a dime from this era avoids the common issues, bag marks, slide marks, and small contact points, it becomes rare in a way that doesn't depend on mintage numbers at all. This coin is also appreciated for its uniform appearance. Both sides reflect the same level of clarity and strength, which is not always the case with 1990s minting. Sometimes the obverse looks sharp but the reverse appears soft, or vice versa. This dime shows balance on both sides, making it appealing to collectors who value consistency as much as they value overall quality. What makes this piece stand out further is how well the luster flows across its surface. Instead of showing choppy reflections or broken lines, the shine is smooth from edge to edge. That kind of presentation indicates a coin that wasn't exposed to rough storage or repeated handling. Coins that keep their natural mint luster often gain attention because they reflect how carefully they were kept over time. Its rarity comes from survival rather than production. The mint made plenty of 1996 D dimes, but nearly all of them entered circulation, picked up wear, and lost the pristine appearance needed to be considered exceptional. Only a very small number were stored early enough to retain the level of quality that this coin demonstrates. Those few survivors form the upper tier of modern high-grade dimes. Collectors who build advanced modern sets, especially those focusing on Denver output across several decades, seek pieces like this to represent the best of each year. When a coin stands at the top of its year in terms of clarity, detail, and surface condition, it becomes an essential example for specialized collections. Examining this dime closely reveals why enthusiasts consider it one of the strongest representatives of the date. The structure of the design remains intact, the surfaces show minimal signs of contact, and the visual balance across the coin is unusually strong. These factors help explain why it reached a much higher value than regular 1996 D circulation strikes. The piece demonstrates how modern coins can still rise to significant value when they show remarkable precision. It also reflects how important careful handling is. If this dime had spent only a short time in circulation, its surfaces would show the common friction marks and its standout qualities would be lost. The fact that it stayed preserved gives it the level of distinction collectors respond to. Because of these combined traits, sharp definition, clean fields, balanced edges, and the absence of noticeable marks, this example stands out as one of the top-quality 1996 D dimes known. Condition alone plays a major role, and coupled with superior striking characteristics, it became a desirable find for those who appreciate finely made modern coins. Its strong presentation, precise features, and exceptional preservation helped it reach a notable figure when assigned a value by collectors. The qualities it carries are the kind that only appear in a very small number of coins from the same year, making this piece a highlight among modern high-grade dimes. And this exceptional 1996 D dime, known for its clean surfaces, refined details, and unusually sharp striking quality, reached a confirmed coin value of $55,000. So if you come across a 1996 D dime that looks unusually sharp or noticeably cleaner than the rest, it's worth giving it a closer look. Small details can make a big difference, and some modern coins hold far more potential than people realize. Checking those everyday pieces might lead you to something unexpectedly valuable. The next coin takes us into a period when most collectors weren't paying much attention to small variations in modern circulating money. The 2000 D-era dime is one of those pieces that could easily slip through someone's hands without a second thought. Yet for collectors who study the finer details of mint production, this coin represents a subtle but important deviation from the typical Denver output of the early 2000s. At first glance, it appears almost identical to any other dime struck that year. But when viewed with the right lighting or under magnification, slight irregularities begin to reveal themselves. These differences show up in the way the design elements sit on the surface, how the pressure reached certain areas of the coin, and how the die interacted with the metal during striking. This specific error wasn't caused by dramatic misalignment or an obvious flaw. Instead, it developed gradually as a die began to shift or show early signs of wear. Small distortions formed within the lettering and specific parts of the design, creating a pattern that specialists now recognize as unique to this variety. The deviations are small, but consistently present in the known examples. One of the most important factors behind this coin's value is the condition in which it survived. Most dimes from 2000 moved directly into circulation and faced months or years of everyday handling. That type of movement leaves tiny scratches, dulling of the fields, and softening of details. This coin avoided nearly all of that. It kept its natural brightness, clean surfaces, and smooth texture from edge to edge. Collectors also pay attention to the way the light reflects off its surfaces. Instead of showing breaks in luster, common signs of contact, the shine flows smoothly, indicating minimal disturbance after leaving the mint. This suggests that the coin may have been set aside very early, possibly before it had the chance to mix with other coins in bags or counting machines. Its rims are another strong point. On most circulated 2000 D dimes, the edges show small nicks from contact with other coins. Here, the rims retain their structure, with a balanced, even shape that confirms the coin avoided the rough handling that wears down these areas first. Well-preserved rims are especially important for evaluating modern coins because they show how carefully the piece was stored. When collectors examined this dime more closely, they also noted how clean the fields were. Modern coinage typically develops micro-scratches simply from being processed in bulk. The absence of those marks is unusual and indicates that the coin didn't spend time sliding against other pieces during storage or transport. That clarity allows the error details to remain visible and easy to identify. Another reason the 2000 D error dime stands out is the scarcity of similar examples in this level of preservation. Even if the same die produced multiple error coins, only a very small number survived without wear. Most entered circulation, where the subtle features of the error gradually blended into normal wear patterns and became harder to distinguish. For collectors who focus on modern error varieties, this dime serves as an important piece because it shows how slight variations in die performance can create unique outcomes. They appreciate coins like this not because they are visually dramatic, but because they offer insight into how the minting machinery behaved at a specific moment. These pieces document small technical events that are otherwise not recorded. The precision of the remaining details is another highlight. The design features, such as the lettering, shapes, and transitions, retain their clarity. This helps specialists compare the coin to standard examples and confirm the presence of the error. The accuracy of these preserved features strengthens the coin's position as one of the standout pieces from the year 2000. Collectors who pursue complete sets of Denver Mint varieties often look for coins like this to fill the more difficult spots in their albums. While the Mint produced large quantities of 2000 D dimes, only a small number hold the qualities needed to meet advanced collecting standards. This particular example fits into that upper tier, combining rarity and excellent condition. Under magnification, the coin shows even more uniqueness. The small distortions remain intact, the texture of the metal is undisturbed, and the luster still reflects across the surfaces uniformly. These features demonstrate that the coin remained untouched long enough for the minting irregularity to stay fully visible. Its balanced appearance is another point that collectors appreciate. Many modern era coins show uneven striking or inconsistent surfaces. Here, the finish remains steady, the details maintain their shape, and the error blends into the design in a way that makes the coin both interesting and visually appealing. Because of these combined elements, subtle error traits, unusually preserved surfaces, balanced structure, and a clean presentation, this 2000 D dime earned its place among the more desirable modern era finds. It represents the type of coin that collectors sometimes overlook because the differences are not immediately obvious, but once recognized, they make the piece stand out sharply from the rest. And this carefully maintained 2000 D era dime, valued for its clear irregularities and exceptional condition, reached a confirmed coin value of $42,000. So if you ever come across a modern dime that looks a little different or seems to have avoided the typical signs of handling, it's worth taking a closer look. Even small details can lead to something meaningful. Keep checking those everyday finds, you never know what might turn out to be important. In the last coin of today's finds, we take a look at a piece from a year most people would never think twice about. The 2014 D dime is one of the most recent coins in circulation today, and that's exactly why this particular example is so unexpected. When coins are this new, most collectors assume they're all the same. But every now and then, a small group carries traits that make them stand out far more than anyone would guess. This specific 2014 D dime became interesting because its design shows a subtle irregularity that doesn't match the usual Denver production of that year. It isn't the kind of error that jumps out at first glance. Instead, the difference appears in the way the dies press the details into the coin, creating small shifts in certain elements that only become clear with closer inspection. Most modern coins move quickly from the mint into circulation, where they're tossed into registers, dropped into pockets, and passed through machines. That constant movement leaves behind tiny marks, dulling, and surface wear that make it hard to spot anything unusual. What makes this coin special is that it avoided nearly all of that. Its surfaces remain clean, its luster stays intact, and the finer points of the design still show a level of clarity rarely seen on a coin from this period. Collectors always take note when a recent coin shows both an identifiable minting difference and a high level of preservation. Modern coins usually show rough handling early in their lives, so finding one with undisturbed fields is unusual. On this dime, the fields reflect smoothly, the edges maintain structure, and the contours of the lettering remain sharp instead of softened by circulation. Under magnification, the qualities become even more noticeable. The small design elements, especially those that often show the first signs of wear, still retain crisp lines. The rims hold their shape without flattening or dents, suggesting the coin was set aside before it had the chance to mix with large quantities of other coins. This type of protection makes all the difference when studying fine details. The error itself is subtle, but collectors who specialize in modern varieties appreciate these kinds of discoveries. They provide insight into how dies shift, wear, or behave under high-speed production. Even slight variations document moments in the minting process that would otherwise go completely unnoticed. When one of these variations survives in excellent condition, it becomes a piece worth examining closely. Another reason this 2014 D-dime draws interest is how rare it is to find a recent coin with a distinct error and this level of clarity. Most modern errors get lost to circulation, and their identifying traits wear away before collectors ever see them. This example stands out because everything remained preserved enough for the differences to remain obvious. Coins like this appeal not only to advanced collectors but also to those who enjoy searching through their change. Knowing that even a modern dime can carry a unique trait adds excitement to everyday finds. A coin doesn't need to be old to be interesting, it only needs a feature that sets it apart from the rest. This 2014 D-dime has the kind of condition that gives it strong potential in the collector market. Its surfaces, strike quality, and small design irregularities give it more significance than a standard circulation piece. While it may not have a well-known reputation yet, coins like this often grow in recognition as more collectors learn about their characteristics. Its combination of rarity, subtle error features, and exceptional preservation gives it a level of appeal that goes beyond its face value. These qualities suggest it could be a meaningful find for anyone who appreciates modern minting variations, especially those that survive in near-original condition. Many collectors believe that modern errors like this could become even more desirable in the future as interest in newer varieties continues to grow. Coins from the 2010s rarely show deviations, so when one does, it tends to stand out sharply. The detailed surfaces also make this particular example easier to document and compare with standard issues. Because so many 2014 D-dimes were produced, finding one with this combination of clarity and uniqueness is far from common. That contrast between mass production and rare survival is part of what makes the coin so intriguing. It's a reminder that valuable finds can still appear in circulation today. Its strong presentation also highlights how small changes in die performance can leave lasting marks on the coins produced during that moment. These minor traits often go unnoticed by the general public, but to collectors, they tell a meaningful story about the minting process. So if you ever come across a 2014 D-dime that looks a little cleaner, a little sharper, or just slightly different from the others, take a moment to look carefully. Even recent dimes can turn out to be surprising discoveries. And before you spend it without a second thought, make sure you're not holding something that could be much more interesting than it appears. Thank you for joining me today as we explored some of the most interesting and rare dimes from different years. I hope you enjoyed learning about these coins and discovering what makes them stand out. If you liked this video and want to see more content about rare coins, modern finds, and valuable collectibles, don't forget to hit the like button, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future coin discoveries. Your support really helps us bring more exciting finds and detailed guides to this channel. And remember, always check your change carefully, you never know what hidden treasures might be waiting right in your pocket.